Bonsai Bloke. Here you go. Well, going to be working on this crepe myrtle today. Basically cutting it back hard. It's just shot out on all the long shoots from last summer. But I find with crepe myrtles, you can't cut them back in winter. You have to wait till they're shooting before you cut them back. And because I didn't cut it back in autumn last year, it had really long old growth on it, which I couldn't cut back in winter like I say. And the reason is because if you cut it back in winter without the leaves pushing or without sap flow in the branches, I find the crepe myrtle actually just dies all the way back on those branches that you cut. It does not like being cut in winter when it's dormant, which is interesting because all the other deciduous trees are fine, or seem to be, all the ones I have anyway. So yeah, we've got to cut it back pretty hard. So most of this will be gone. There'll almost, when we're finished, there'll almost be no leaf on it. But it'll bud back fine because it's got sap flow and it's already pushing out leaf. So I'll cut it back hard and it'll bud back fine. But like I say, in winter you do it, come spring, things just don't shoot out. Not sure why, it just seems to be the type of tree that it is, or bush, type of bush. No worries. Well, I went windsurfing yesterday on the windsurfer, so I'm pretty tired, pretty sore. Did 160 odd Ks. Also my brother came over last night once I got home from windsurfing, he came over. I had a couple, 2-3 beers too many, so I'm a bit tired today. But, you know, I'll keep up the tradition, have a beer with a video. Don't feel too bad, just really tired. So I'll pick something nice and easy to work on. Oh, I better go and get the branch cutters. So to put that into perspective, that's like sailing almost as far as sailing from the closest point between the mainland and Tasmania on the old windsurfer. It was a good day, we had good wind, beautiful. One day I'll show you the some footage of me on the windsurfer. I think I might actually have just a little clip of me recently, which I might put on. But anyway, so what I'm doing is I'm just cutting back all these old, I'll just show you these old branches, give you a close up. So this is the growth from last year and then it hardened off and went dormant over winter. So this is the old growth from last year and this is the new young growth here. So I'm cutting it all the way back to where there's not even a leaf, right back into the tree. So there will be probably no leaf, like I said. I mean, bonsai seems really easy, but then I guess when you think about it, you know, like this one here requires different treatment to another one, and some need cutting back at different times, like apricots I only cut back in summer because of disease if you cut them in winter. There's all these little things that you've got to try to remember as well, and I sort of forget. I just think, oh yeah, just go in and cut it back, but there's also timing and stuff as well. As a general rule, most deciduous things are fine to cut back in winter and repot end of winter when things are just starting to swell up, getting ready to go. But the crepe myrtle I find is one that you've got to let it be growing before you cut it back. Just a bit of a different plant, this one, but to make beautiful trees. I haven't even gone in here and chosen the main branching that I want to keep. I got this tree about a year ago from a bloke that grew it in his garden for bonsai, and he's sort of, I think he was going to travel the country, travel Australia in his new camper van, and he's sort of taken a back seat on bonsai and he got rid of a lot of his stuff, so I got this one off him. Bloke was nice enough to give it to me, and I'm very grateful for that. But then, as luck would have it, he never went anywhere because of coronavirus. So I'm not sure what happened with that. I think sometimes, you know, people have too many hobbies or whatever, or they get too many trees and then it just becomes too much. I was not at that point last year, but it was certainly getting hard with all the trees I had. Now that I've downsized and, you know, getting things back under control, I'm getting quite excited about bonsai again and really keen. Even gone collecting a few times, as you've seen in the last few months, so that's interesting. So I'm really getting back into it. But anyway, just doing a bit of spring weeding, getting rid of some weeds down here, so that once we're finished you'll be able to see the base. Beautiful base. I wish this plastic pot wasn't in the way of it. There's actually really some really mean big roots on this thing. Anyway, let's keep cutting. So, just cutting back hard to the base of all these shoots. I did do like a bit of an initial branch structuring, but I didn't choose, you know, 2 branches from each location and that type of thing, whereas now there's, you know, clusters of 5 or 6 branches from one area. One spot. So I've got to get in there and clean up the whole structure now to put it back to only 2 branches from each location. So everything else about the crepe myrtle is the same. 2 branches from each location. It's apically dominant, like most bushy trees. So you cut back, you keep the stronger shoots at the bottom and the weaker shoots at the top. And yeah, just 2 from each location, that's pretty much it. Cut the new growth back pretty hard. The leaves do get quite small after a while. This one's got reasonably big leaves, but once you start to get some good close ramification going, or divisions in the branching, then it will settle down on the leaf size and give you quite small leaves. And they're also very vigorous and very hungry. You can see this one's actually, even though I've been feeding really heavily, there's actually a little bit of chlorosis in the leaves. They're not as deep dark green as you would like, so this one could have even more fertiliser, and I've been fertilising at double the recommended rate every 10 days. So very hungry trees, very fast growers. You could probably get 3 to 4 trimmings on one of these per summer. So that's, you know, easily 4 lots of growth for the summer. And then the idea is just before the tree shuts down, about maybe 8 weeks before it shuts down, you give it a final trim, and then those shoots it'll rebud and reshoot out but those shoots will stay quite small and compact going into winter. Then they'll go dormant and you'll end up with all these fine ramification that you can keep, or branch division that you can keep. And it means that when it shoots out in winter like this, instead of cutting back into old growth like I am now, because it only put out really fine branch divisions, then you can come back in like normal and just do 2 pairs of leaves, which is 4 leaves on each one, like that, and leave it all to, you know, increase your branch divisions. But because I didn't do that on this one, I'm now having to go in and cut back into all the old wood. Like I say, do not cut these back in winter. You get dieback. And it can die back nearly all the way to the base along that side of the tree. And I've learnt this out, you know, the hard way. No one told me. I did some work on, I had about 3 of them. I've still got 2 of them. The others I put in the garden around the house. Like I say, I've still got 2 as bonsai. And I learnt the hard way that I cut them back in winter. And then I thought, what's going on? You know, not really shooting out. And they died back. And I wasn't quite sure what happened. And then, silly me, I never learnt the first time. I did it again the next year. They grew from the base, or, you know, further back in the branching, and I had to get rid of a lot of the branching that I did get the year before because it died. And then I'd, you know, it would reshoot, get that good branching again. Next winter, what did I do? I cut it back again. I didn't learn. And then, same thing happened. Got all this dieback. And then I realised on one that I didn't trim, because I got too lazy, it didn't die back. And then I thought, hang on, something going on here. The one that I didn't trim didn't die back. So I thought, okay, well, that's interesting. So the next year, I did cut it back. The next year, oh, I'm rambling, I'm too tired. So then the next year, I didn't cut it back in winter, but in late summer or autumn, just before they start to go dormant, you know, a few weeks, month and a half, I gave it its last trim. And then come the next spring after winter, it was beautiful. It all shot out beautifully. And I got all this good division, and I got to keep everything. And as long as I do it like that, it doesn't seem to lose any branching. So anyway, so that's my new theory on these crepe myrtles. Some other people might not agree with me, but I did tell one person, I said, do not cut it back during winter. They're like, yeah, whatever. Whatever, Sam. You don't know what you're talking about, mate. And then what happened? They had to come back, tail between their legs, and tell me how they got all this dieback. Now, they believe me now. Yeah, anyway, so that's my experience with it. But otherwise, very easy tree, really well suited for bonsai. Cut it back in summer, it's fine. It divides really well. It keeps, over winter, this one's dead, but I'm not joking. It'll actually look like the little twigs have dried up, but they haven't. And you can get a twig as small as that, survive, and then shoot out from winter. They get extremely, extremely small twigging that you would not believe. So you can see I have given it a cut back one other time. This crepe myrtle. When I got it off of him, it was just straight out the ground, and I just chose the branches I wanted to keep. So what you see here is the result of that. Got two branches next to each other there, get rid of one of them. And it gets, crepe myrtle gets this beautiful bark on it as well. Absolutely beautiful bark. Get rid of that out of there. There's a bit of a dead wood here. Don't want to wreck my them. I'm going to get me gin pies. The old beer's starting to go down pretty well again. Bloody beauty. We'll run out of tons, so now I'm on to some super dry mid-strength that I got cheap from the footy club, 30 bucks a carton. Can't go wrong with 30 bucks a carton for some hard super dry. I don't know if it fell off the back of the truck or what, but some good savings, and it's good beer. Okay, so that's that. Root wise, I don't know what I want to do. I think I'll wait till I repot. Give it a really hard repotting next year. As far as cutting roots and really bare rooting it and getting in there and having a look. I don't really want to choose what roots I want to keep and cut now. I feel like it's something I should do when I give it a big clean up. And I'll cut it back hard next spring and hopefully the tree will bounce back from that okay. So, apart from one tiny little thing there, we're looking pretty good. We're nearly done, I reckon. Make sure there's only two. It's a big deal to only have two from each location. Very rarely do I break it. That rule, that's the only rule that I really think you should pretty well adhere to, although not always. On the main trunk, I don't mind having 2 or 3 from one location. 3 or 4, I mean. Depending on how thick the trunk is, that's the main thing. Okay. I feel like that's probably the front, but then that could be as well. No, that probably is there. I'd say that's the front there. When I give you a close-up, you'll see how powerful this thing is. I wish I could, I don't think I can. It's not been in this pot for very long, and I'm just going to end up with a mess everywhere, and all the soil will fall out. So I'm not going to do it now, but I wish I could get it out and show you guys how powerful this little tree really is. It's only going to ever be a small tree, but it's got a really powerful trunk. No worries. You can see, camera never really does it justice, but you really want to be looking up into the tree, but then you've got this pot in the way. So it's got some ugly roots that need cleaning, but it's got really, really good taper from fat to thin to really thin. So I hope you get the idea. Anyway, I'll just walk around the tree and make you guys dizzy instead of a spin today. You can see how they're a little bit yellow there. You can see the veins a little bit. They're not bad, but you know, it could do with just a little bit more fur. So here's another point that you could have as the front. but that main trunk will be leaning away from you. So I think it'll end up being over here somewhere, and I'll just clean up those roots a little bit more just to make it look nicer when I repot it next year. No worries, I reckon that's about it for today's video. You can see the big pile on the ground. Fairly big pile. No worries. Cheers for watching Aussie Bonsai Bloke. Please like, share, subscribe, tell your mates about the channel. And I'll catch you next time. Cheers.